We got good enough light. It's recording though.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello, Robin. How are you?
How are you?
Oh, Jinx, you owe me a drink.
Snickers.
A Snickers or whatever. You can have whatever you want. I'll give you whatever you want. Drinks or Snickers, chocolate. Although one of my guys from work bought this whole box of cookies today. And he's like, do you want some? And I was like, yes. And I ate like 4 of them. And I was like, you can't give this to me because I want so many cookies. I was very good though.
I'm surprised you ate cookies.
I surprised myself, but when someone offered, first I did it to be polite, and then I was like, these cookies are actually really good. And so then I kept eating them. So that's the story of that. It's not very interesting, but yes, I ate 4 cookies today, which is not normal for me.
So you ate cookies today. That sounds delicious. I did not.
And I'm starving right now. We're recording. It is 7 at night. I have not eaten. So if it's a speedy episode, that's why, because I'm hungry. Anyways, Robin, you're at the cabin right now.
I am at the cabin. I love it. We are able to work anywhere there's internet.
Nice.
And I decided to take the Labor Day week opportunity to work from the cabin. So I am working during the day, and in the evening I am relaxing. I'm doing some meditation, which is somewhat new for me. On a consistent basis meditation. And it's been raining. So I'm sitting in the cabin with a little bit of the screen door open so I can hear the pitter patter of the rain. And it's been nice just thinking through a lot, and actually thinking a lot recently about the episode that we're recording tonight.
Really? I think, meditation, that's like my jam now. I meditate 2 times, sometimes 3 times a day. It has changed my life in so many ways. And they say that water is really good for meditation. If you want to get like super spiritual with it, they're like, water holds memory and water is like renewing and like water washes you clean. But like, honestly, it really does. Because if you think about it, water is in everything and it's in us. And that's really cool. So what is the episode topic today, Robin? I secretly know, but you tell us.
Of course you secretly know. We've been talking about it for a while. And Ashley actually titled it, Should Be, Supposed To. And what does that mean?
I kept renaming it because we couldn't remember what it was, because it's kind of confusing. Do you want me to explain it?
Confusing. Go ahead.
Okay. So the idea and thought process behind this episode is there was a couple weeks back where I was feeling really down and I couldn't figure out why. And the whole time I just kept thinking about like, oh man, I'm just not where I'm supposed to be in life. I'm not where I should be. And I want to be here. And why am I not at this point in my life yet? And then I just got to thinking like, what is this idea of should be or supposed to, or like, who says that you should be anywhere? Who says that you're supposed to be somewhere? No one. That's oftentimes like a societal standard or something that we've been told our entire lives. And so Robin and I kind of started talking about this, where we were talking about, what does that even mean? And how do we kind of change that in us? And then we've also talked to some of the entrepreneurs on our podcast as well about kind of where they are in life and how they've switched that, and basically taking this instead of should be or supposed to and saying like, where I am is perfect. And it's all a journey, and there's no set formula to life. Like everyone is going to get to where they should be, quote unquote, on their own time. So I don't know. That's how I took it. I don't know if you wanted to elaborate on that, Robin.
Yeah, all of our listeners know that there's an age difference between Ashley and I. Mm-hmm. And when Ashley was talking about where she should be, I said, but it's all about timing. And does it really matter? Mm-hmm. I do remember years ago going back to the city where I graduated from in Wisconsin. And I remember people telling me that they were jealous of my lifestyle. And I was really surprised because I was unmarried. I didn't have any children. I was successful in my career at the time, not where I am today, but certainly I had made significant progress. I had a couple accolades behind me, a couple of degrees, educational wise, and I was living the best life. I loved my life and I was doing well and I was super happy. And I remember my girlfriends telling me, wow, we're so jealous of you. And I was totally struck because here society tells you, okay, after high school, you need to go to a 4-year college. And then you need to get married to your high school sweetheart. And then you need to
Yes.
have children. And then you have the block parties with everybody on your block. And then you get your kids to school. And then they go off to college. And then, I mean, society has all these things laid out for you. And here I'm thinking, I haven't done any of them. I've done them in just a really random fashion. And here I said, wow, all along, I always thought you guys had the life. You guys either went to a tech school or college, married your high school sweetheart or somebody you knew in high school. You guys settled down in Prescott. You guys had your kids. And here I'm thinking I'm the lone wolf out there because I am completely opposite. It was interesting. So when Ashley brought up that topic, I thought, oh my gosh, how interesting that society tells us or influences us where we should be. And then when you're older in life, where are you? What should you have done? So what were you supposed to do? And that's how Ashley came up with the title of Should Be Supposed To. So in my 50s, early 50s, by the way, what should I supposed to have done? I was supposed to have gotten married. I was supposed to have had children. I was supposed to have had this career and just live the average lifestyle. And I didn't do any of it. And Ashley's not doing what she's supposed to be doing at her age.
It's interesting to me because I feel like this whole time growing up, watching the movies and watching my parents or watching the people around me, I feel like I have grown up, and I think most of us have grown up with this idea of, you know, what we should do, but it's all misguided. This is what I've come to the epiphany of. It's all misguided because okay, and here's just an aside. One thing that I was obsessed with growing up was love. Like, I love the idea of love. I love loving people. I love like being happy and just, I just love love. And I grew up that way, possibly because of Disney movies, possibly because of every movie ever, because every movie ever has like some type of love interest. So I just became obsessed with this idea of love. But it's like, one thing that I've been meditating on recently is this idea that I've spent so much time, and we as a society have spent so much time with this idea of like, I need to find love. I need to, find my soulmate. I need to date and do all this and this, that we forget about the whole idea of self-love. Like, this is something that I've been working on a ton recently, is like, I spent so much of my time focused on loving other people that I forgot to love myself. And that's a big should have, that people, you should have a husband by now. You should be dating. And it's like, right now I'm single, ready to mingle, and it's freaking great. And I don't even look for like relationships. It's like, people come to you and it's like, I'm so happy. Like, I'm so happy just being by myself. I realized that boys, like the boys that have come into my life recently, have actually caused more like issues like in the last few months than anything. And it's like, I feel so happy just like loving on myself. And that is a big thing that like, so the should be that everyone says we should be doing is actually like completely the opposite. Like, instead of should be finding love in other people, which our society tells us to do, we should be pouring that love into ourselves. So that's just one thing I've been like really thinking about lately. I don't know. Is that something that you've noticed, Robin?
No. And actually, when we started talking about this a while ago, that was not where your frame of mind was. So I'm super excited to hear this because that's not what we talked about, which is, I mean, good Lord, Ashley and I talk about stuff every single day.
Oh, yeah, we talk every day.
It's, yeah. The should be though really is self-love. And that is what I did. Yes, I was in a couple of relationships that did not turn out well, obviously, but I still always loved myself. And yeah, we get down if a boyfriend breaks up with us or we break up with a boyfriend, you're sad, but it was always about me, and not in a selfish way, but as all of you know, I am all about safety and security, no abuse, no mental abuse, no verbal abuse, no physical abuse. And I have always stood by myself. I've always stood by that. Even as a kid, I don't know where it came from. So with you talking about you going into self-love, it's like, whoa, I just had an epiphany that I always had that, and I never
Which
knew
is
that.
so
I never thought about it until tonight.
That's so powerful because Robin, I think you having a ton of self-love is a big deal because that's something that a lot of us don't grow up with, and a lot of people, and through no fault of people's own, sometimes it's like we just get really, sometimes parents can make you feel bad or make you doubt your abilities, and then okay, that's just one little knock at you, like a little flick or a scratch at your identity. And when that happens more often, it's like you start to get really down on yourself. And I think that's how I grew up. Is I know now my abilities, and we kind of talked about this on the last episode. It's we have so many great things that we have to offer, and sometimes we forget that. And it's like I think this should be, like we said, is just, you should at this point in your life be so invested and focused on yourself, because you cannot have, especially for like me, it's like you can't have a relationship until you fully love yourself. And that has been huge mind shift for me, because I realize now too that I just freaking love being by myself, because I don't know, it's so powerful. And I love that you've already always done that, Robin, like, because it's just exciting, because now I feel like I'm starting to get on your level with, but it's like I shouldn't necessarily be on your level. Maybe that's also a should be that I should not be comparing myself to, but I'm starting to see something that when you're looking back that you had.
Yeah, I don't think it's comparing though either. And because we've talked about this topic so much without knowing we were talking about this topic so much, I think you're trying to achieve a state of happiness that I've had for a very, very long time. I think that's more of it than trying to should be like Robin. I think you're trying to do the Ashley Allen version of the same happiness that I've had for so many years.
Which I love the way you say that. Okay, that sparks something in me too, because again, the should be and the ought tos. This is so exciting. I love that we're finally talking about this. We talk about it in like little chunks here and there, but now we get to actually like go off. But I think kind of drawing in to just like the happiness theory, because I feel like so many people self-sabotage themselves when they're happy. So one thing that like I feel is like right now I can say with full gusto that I am the happiest I've ever been in life right now. Like at this moment, I am so freaking happy all the time. I love my life. I get to do whatever I want all the time. Like it amps me up so much. I wake up every morning so excited to go to my freaking job because I love what I do every day. Like it's so exciting to me. I feel like I'm making a difference. I work with an incredible team. I get to go on hikes all the time. But basically, that's why the other day when I was really down on myself, I was like, oh, I'm so down on myself because I'm like, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. And I'm like, why am I saying I should be doing anything when this is the happiest I have ever been? Shouldn't my should be to be as happy as possible? So like, why am I, that's just my thought, is like, there's so many people in life who are really happy and they're like, well, but I don't have that job that I want, or I'm single and yeah, I'm happy, but I should be in a relationship. It's like, are you the happiest you've ever been? Are you working towards your happy? Then you're exactly where you should be. Because if living each day to your happiest is going to make your life the best it can ever be, and it's going to make your life shine on everyone else, and that's exactly where you should be. I don't know. Rant over.
I loved your rant. I also think it's all about timing. So when we talk
you're
about
a big proponent of timing. I love the way it's too.
Timing is a big deal. I've had several boyfriends, a couple long-term relationships, and until my husband Matt came along, it was all about time. It really was all about timing, and I feel like Matt is the perfect person for me. He knows me so well. I always say it's about timing.
Yes.
So no matter what you do, the timing, for me personally, the timing factor has to be there.
I think you're right. And I know we've mentioned relationships a lot so far, because I think that's been at least on my mind recently, but it doesn't have to be just about relationships. It can be about a job, or it can be about starting your own business, or, like there's little steps that you have to do to get there. And you can't just beat yourself up because you're not there yet, because everyone has their own process. And we talk about this all the time on the podcast. Like that's what this whole podcast is about. So we're here to inspire you that you can be in your 20s, you can be in your 70s. We talked to someone in an upcoming podcast episode that you will hear in a couple of weeks. But this man is in his 70s and he's killing it in life and started a business later on in life. And if he just listened to the should be's and the haves to and the ought to's, he may not be where he is in life right now. He may not be in the successful businessman that he is because he listened to what other people told him he should do.
Yeah, Robin. And some of the time he didn't listen to what people told him. And are you ready to switch to the other side?
Yes, I want to switch to your side.
The supposed to. Mm-hmm. This is a topic that I wouldn't say has been on my mind a lot, but people do ask me, do you have kids? Do you regret not having kids?
This is a big one.
What's that?
So this is a big one. The kids one is a big one.
It really is a big one. Or how come you're not married? You're 30 years old. How come you don't have a husband or a boyfriend? How come you don't have children? How come you don't have this? How come you don't have a house? How come you don't live out in the country? How come you don't have the newest vehicle? How come you don't have living with the Joneses? And it was on my mind several times, but the timing, I wasn't ready to get married. And in fact, I didn't even want to go to college. I just wanted to marry my high school sweetheart, live in Prescott, Wisconsin, and live happily ever after. I never wanted to go to a 4-year college either, Ashley. It was not on my mind. I ended up going to a 2-year medical academy, and my dad had sat me down in high school and said, you might be too young, but there used to be these long legal yellow pads.
Oh, I know.
And he took a pencil. I'll never forget it. Yeah. And I'll never forget it. And he said, here's your income with a high school diploma. Here's your income with a 2-year degree. Here's your income with a 4-year degree. Here's your income with a master's degree. I think he stopped there, and then he said, okay, here are all of your bills now as a high school person or as a high school graduate. Here are all the bills that you have. Your phone bill alone, because we had long distance back in the day. The phone bill alone, it took out almost 3/4 of what I would make in high school or having a high school diploma.
Yeah.
And it really hit home to me I need to go to school. So I did go to school. I ended up with a 2-year degree. And then I went to the University of Wisconsin-Madison with the 4-year degree. And then I ended up going for my master's degree, and I have an MBA. And then I went for my PMP. So it's been a long journey, but I was supposed to have done that a long time ago. Perfect example. My mother today, as we are recording this on September the 9th, literally is in a class for the University of Wisconsin Platteville of criminology. So my 71-year-old mother is going back to school. And she is so excited because she started in criminology back in 1969 or 70.
Yeah.
It's never a supposed to. I was supposed to have done. It's when you're ready.
Go for it.
I was talking to my co-pilot Dawn today about the supposed to's, and did she feel that society was pressuring her to get married, have a kid, get a house, do everything, go to college? And she said no, she really wasn't. She didn't feel that way. Maybe it was influenced, but she didn't think it was a big deal. It was more about what her parents had done. So a role model of the parents. The other thing that she talked about too was, well, now at my age, I'm supposed to have a Roth IRA, or I'm supposed to have a retirement account, and I'm supposed to, and while she does, you're supposed to save everything, and you're supposed to get everything ready to go for retirement. And she and I were talking about investments, the stock market, things that we're doing in order to prepare ourselves for that. And it really hit me wow, I'm 51. I still feel like I'm 21. So the other part of it is
you are in spirit.
I always have I have such a younger vision. And I was just telling my husband too, when we were out west vacation, and I had said to him too, like, I'm 50 and I finally feel like I could have a kid. Like, I finally feel like, okay, I'm ready to have children, or I finally feel like I could settle down now. I mean, I still feel like I'm 21 years old.
Right.
Certainly it's just how I feel. So I think maybe other people too might have that imbalance of, when I was 21, there wasn't any way I was going to get married, have kids. Like, that just wasn't my lifestyle. But looking at Supposed To and talking with co-pilot Dawn, it really made me think about, wow, I'm supposed to be like literally 20 years forward, and I'm still having a great time. Yes, my husband and I save. Yes, we have retirement accounts. Yes, we do all that. But Dawn really made me think today about what I'm supposed to be doing at this age. Just really interesting.
I think that's a good way to put it. I feel like the idea of staying young, this is like a whole other thing. I don't know if this is a tangent or not, but we're taught that you have to kind of grow up in a way. It's like, you need to save and you need to do this and be responsible and stuff. And there's a way to do that without losing your spirit of like youthfulness. I think you embody that really well, because it's like, you can have a Roth IRA and still have fun, and like you can save and also like enjoy your money. And people, there's so many places that make you feel like it's mutually exclusive. I don't know if you feel that way, but it's like, so I used to work at a bank. Never work at a bank. I shouldn't say that. There are probably people who listen to our podcast that work at a bank. You're fine. The bank did not work well for me, but it was because I felt like I lost my sense of just like self there. And for me, it just, they kind of taught this way of like, you have to save and you have to be so serious, and like, you know, you can't do both. And like you embody that really well, because it's like, yeah, you could have an IRA, but also don't say, there's something to be said about like saving money, but like you also have to find a balance in everything that you do. So like not being afraid to like spend it on the things that matter to you, because that's all we have is like the present. And if something would make you happy, then like there's a way that you can do both, you know? And I know you should be saving money, but you can also be going on really cool vacations if you want. You know?
Something else that goes along with that is, I think, okay, I just had my checkup and I got some results back. And I'm thinking, what would my 70-year-old self tell my 51-year-old self today?
Yeah, good one.
What should you, or what are you supposed to be doing for your health? What are you supposed to be doing for your nutrition? That, I think, is a really good way to look at it. So to think, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm 70 today. What do I want my older self to tell my younger self now, in order to prepare and to be able to live the lifestyle that I want? And I do think that's really interesting. And a part of it is because I do talk to my mom a lot, and here she is going back to school, 71, having a blast.
Yeah.
She still does a lot of studying with the stock market. She too is a continual lifelong learner like I am. And I just think, wow, I have the opportunity at 51 to make changes now that my 70-year-old self will be super proud of.
Yeah. The lifelong learner is a big thing, I think, especially for you and for me too. But like, we have the ability to just learn forever. Like, it always makes me a little sad when I see people that like just don't have that oomph for life. And I understand that there are different circumstances for every person out there, but like I tell people all the time at my work, they're like, hey, like I'm new again. So they're like, oh, you don't know how to do that. And I'm like, I want to learn. I said, send me to all of your seminars, send me to everything you can ever send me to, because I love learning. Like, I just want to learn everything I can, because what's better than just like bettering yourself? So it always makes me sad when I see people that kind of give up on that. And I don't know their circumstances or anything, but it's like you said, it's the lifelong learning is so important.
And it's fun. I think it's a blast to learn different things. And I do like so many topics, just like Ashley does. We could talk and talk. When she was up in July, I I think my husband's ears were bleeding
I know.
because
He kept pointing
we
the remote at
talked
us.
so much. Oh, what's that?
He points the remote at us. He's like, pause, turn it off. Turn off the talking. Remember?
Yeah, and push. Yes.
He actually pushes the button.
Yes. Yeah, he tried to push mute and it just didn't work.
Nope. Never. Not with us, too.
No. And our topics are so varied. And I think
They
that's
really
the
are.
other thing, too. I have so many different interests, and you have so many different interests. So when I bring all of my interests in, and then you bring all of your interests in, I mean, there is just a plethora of interests. And I just think it's super interesting to learn about so many different things.
Yeah, and you're definitely the researcher of us too. Although I mean, I research a little bit, but I always love it because I'm like, what about this topic? And you're like, I've already looked it up. I've been spending 3 days looking it up. I'm like, oh my gosh. You're the one always prepared with all of the notes and stuff for the podcast. I'm like, I'm just gonna show up and wing it. Mostly because I just like to talk, but I look at some stuff. But yeah.
Yes. Listeners, do not let her fool you. She does do research.
I
Maybe
do.
not as much as I do, but she does do research.
I'm always comparing myself to you, saying I should be researching as much as Robin. But then I think to myself, there is no way I could research as much as Robin does. She researches so much. I can't keep up with it.
And I love it.
Mm-hmm.
You research a lot about books. So your strengths and my strengths together, we're unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really important too that as like we go through life that we also find someone like a partner that can like push us to be better. I don't know if this is like on topic or anything, but like you have been monumental in like helping me work through this whole should be supposed to thing, because there are so many times where I would come to you and I'm like, I just feel like I'm inadequate and I just feel like this is a whole thing. And you're just like, you always remind me like what's so important in life. And like, you always remind me and you give me advice on things that like really change my perspective. So I want to thank you like publicly too. Thank you for all of the help you've done for me. But yeah, it's like, it's great because I feel like I found someone.
I was going to say, that is so sweet. Thank you.
Oh,
and you too with me. I'm always learning things from you as well.
Mm-hmm. That's so important though. It's like, I don't know, having friends that push you is really important. I think we have to remember that. So find someone who does that for you too. I mean, we've done it to another level. We're like, we're just going to start a podcast on it. But yeah, it's just, it's great to have that extra push because, and also to just have someone to remind you that you are where you are in your life. And you hype me up no matter what. Like you're one of my hype girls. And so it's like, I can feel really bad and down on myself, but then you sit there and remind me that everything is fine in life and you're where you're supposed to be. And it's all like, you've taught me more than anything. Like it's all a process, and it's all a process in your life as well. Like as a listener, your process is perfect and where you are is exactly where you need to be. And just not to stress out about it really is important.
And if you ever need to talk to either Ashley or I, we will absolutely have no problem talking with you about any issues at all.
Yeah, it's, we're all going to look back. I think it's just like you said, what would your 70-year-old self say to your 50-year-old self? Or what would your 50-year-old self say to your 20-year-old self? It's, like I look and I do the opposite. Sometimes I look and I'm like, look to the future and saying like, when I'm 50, like I will have accomplished so much. And to realize that like, it's one day at a time and like you can't accomplish everything overnight. So give yourself the grace and the time to do what you need to do and not stress about it because it's going to happen. If you have that drive, I guarantee you it's going to happen one way or another, whether it's you're 25 at the moment and it happens when you're 30 or you're 40. If you have that drive behind you, it'll probably happen,
Guaranteed. And it really is all about timing.
Yeah.
All of the puzzle pieces will all fall into place at the same time.
Right.
And you will be so glad that you took every single step that you took in order to achieve your goal. It really will work.
Yeah. The puzzle piece thing is a big thing because I can't remember the quote that I read, but basically it was saying like, you can do anything that you need to, even in a crisis situation, you always make it through. Like you always figure it out. And so even if something crazy happens in your life, you figure out how to get around a crisis anyways. It's like everything will fall into place and work out how it needs to work out. And just to give yourself some positivity, grace, and it's all good.
Okay. Before we go, Ashley and I, a couple of weeks ago, were talking about where our listeners are from. And we are so amazed at where our listeners are from. We still have a huge population in Virginia and Idaho.
Woo woo.
And South Africa, Greece, Iran.
That's a new one. And then we got some new ones in New Zealand, Australia. We have the Czech Republic now. We have an awesome following and a couple new ones in Czech Republic. And then Ireland. So hi to our new listeners.
Super hi to our new listeners. Please email us at icandoanythingpod@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. We also have a Facebook account, an Instagram account, and a Twitter account. Mm-hmm. And we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. And if you have amazing friends that are doing really cool things, send them our way and we'd love to interview them. Like anything. Like if your friends have started a business, if they've done anything just really incredible, send them our way because we want to listen to your stories.
That would be great.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we have for now. Robin, anything else from you?
Nothing from me.
All right. As always, stay awesome.
And keep reaching for your anything.
Bye.
Bye.